Hi guys, I'm going to do a commentary video here for Core TCG's tournament. I decided to go here just because I had some free time on Friday. They do tournaments every Tuesday and Friday at 4:30 p.m. So just show up if you guys want to play some medicine and you guys are in the area. But anyways, we're going to start us off. I did think I won the die roll here, so I go first. I went to this tournament pretty much unprepared. My plan was just to record and not play, and I didn't really bring a full deck. So I decided to use Vayu Turbo, which was the same deck that I used at Ichigo-Con just to teach people, and I swapped some cards in and out between the quick draw deck that I also made. That was a makeshift as well, and I had to borrow a whole side deck from my friend Alex. So the side deck was just 15 cards that he had prepared, but sometimes it wasn't useful. So I'm gonna do this video a little different, where I have three different matchups where I play against heroes, the hero beat decks. Some of them played Diva Heroes, some of them played straight Hero Beat with the Skyscraper, I think. And yeah, so I'm gonna go each of the matchups on how I approach the matchup. Granted, I didn't have the side deck for the second tournament at GX, and that's where I played also Heroes as well. So in this matchup, I play against Hero. So we're gonna start us off here. Let's see who goes first. I'm not sure who goes first here. So we have the hand cams here for the first game. I have Charge of Light Brigade, so automatically I want to be able to resolve it. I decided to special summon Greffer by discarding the Sirocco, and this way I can just turbo off. Most likely I activate the Greffer effect to discard the Vayu, and then I decided to send off the Necrogardener. The reason why I do this is because I want to protect Greffer for the next turn, so I can just dump another dark monster. I do have another Sirocco in my hand, and I do have the option to activate a lure, but instead I decided to just set a lure to the back row, activate Charge the Light Brigade in mill 3, and then hopefully I'm able to, yeah, then I get a Raikou. I mill another Vayu, so this allows me just to capitalize off of it, and then I just set the Raikou. The cold wave shouldn't be there. I don't know why it's there. But yeah, I accidentally put it in my deck. So I set the Raikou here and I set the Allure. So if he summons the Stratos here and he tries to attack over the Greffer, I'll Necro Gardener. If he tries to attack into the Raikou, I'll still Necro Gardener because if he sits back row, I can just flip the Raikou and pop the back row. He activates the emergency call here and he searches for Stratos, most likely. And then he does this really cool play where, well, not a really cool play, but he does a play where he checks my Necrogardener, where he has the, I'll show you. So he special summons the Cyber Dragon and he normal summons the Stratos. This play plays around the fact that if I do have Necrogardener and he tries to do the attack order where if he attacks with Cyber Dragon into my Dark Greffer or the Stratos into the Dark Greffer first, even if I Necrogardener try to protect the Greffer, he'll just attack with the second monster. So I most likely let the Greffer die and then Necrogardener the second attack if he does that attack order. Okay, so he does the attack order right. He attacks over the Greffer, and then I Necro Guard on the attack. This way he can't set any back rows if he does have any, because then Raikou would just pop it. Yep. He passes turn here, I draw for turn, and I draw into a Dark Monster. I draw to another Greffer. So I activate the Raikou effect. I play the Deep Sea Diva in this tournament just because I felt like there was no good replacement. But later on, I found out that Deep Sea Diva just plain sucks in Vayu Turbo. I just wanted to try it out. Now that I have the option to summon the Greffer here to discard yet another Dark Monster, I do have the option of sending another Vayu for future plays, but I do play Elf and the Raven, so maybe I go into the Elf and the Raven play. I've been testing out Elf and the Raven. It's an okay card. Drawing it is okay, so it's not too bad of a card to draw. But making an Armor Master right off the bat is pretty cool. It's just that he's a level 7, and it makes it really awkward to Synchro Summon with him with a Plague Spreader Zombie. But I do it anyways. I send the Vayu instead, it looks like. Yeah. So I send the Vayu here, so all three Vayus in the graveyard. So this way I'm able to just pop off. I make the Armwing here. I decided to pace myself, I think, without making the next play where I just make another Armwing. This way, if the Armwing dies on the board with the Gores, I could just make another one. Looks like, never mind, I just go for the turbo play. So this is actually incorrect in hindsight, or not even in hindsight, but like just doing it right away. Because if he does have a Gores, the Gores token can just beat over my Armwing. So there was no need to do this. So I attack with everybody, and he doesn't have Gores anyways, but if he does have if he does have the absolute zero line where he normal summons the ocean, then I won't be able to recover from that really well. And I only have one value here to recover. This play is good for like damage output, but that just means that I'm pretty much banking on him not having the Miracle Fusion. Okay, so he does have the Miracle Fusion, and he normal summons the ocean to make the absolute zero. So this is a really bad position for me. I should have only just made one arm wing. This way that I don't have to waste my second value. I draw into a Book of Moon here. I have the option of attacking the absolute zero with the Book of Moon, but instead I decide to set the Book of Moon. And if he declares an attack with the absolute zero, then I can at least yeah, then I can at least cancel the attack and attack over with the arm wing. So this play here is interesting. If he summons a DD Warrior Lady to try to like bait out a back row, and seeing that I already used Torrential, he probably didn't care that about summoning the DD Warrior Lady to losing it to Torrential. But if I do Torrential anyways, I would lose 4 cards to his 2. So the math always checks out here. So he was always summoning the DD Warrior Lady. Even if it's a Mirror Force, it's still going to be a 4 for 2 because he is only trading 2 cards for my 4 if I Mirror Force. So yeah. I let the DD Warrior Lady trade with my Arm Wing, and then he attacks over the Absolute Zero. He attacks over my Grepher with Absolute Zero. I didn't feel the need to keep the Dark Grepher because I already ran out of all the values through my deck, so there was no need to protect him. And this buys me more time too. I think I draw into a Bottomless and I set it, and I wanted to do the play where I book the Absolute Zero, assuming he doesn't have any more. He activates Heavy Storm here, which is really unfortunate for me. I really wanted to use a defensive Book of Moon, but he Heavy Stormed himself. But now I'm forced to use up my Vayu to kill the Absolute Zero. I activate here the Vayu here, and I have the option of attacking over the Alias. But if I attack, I might run into a deep prison. I put him in a position where he has to use our Absolute Zero to attack into my Armor Master. This way, by doing so, I don't have to worry about the deep prison, and then he can just attack directly with the Alias. So I passed turn here, I think, without setting any back rows. And it was a Gemini Spark after all. Even if I did declare an attack, he was always going to activate the Gemini Spark to pop the Armor Master. So I see that as a win for me to pass the turn without attacking. So now he has an absolute zero here, and he has to kind of have to play around the Gores if I did draw into it. But he doesn't care because absolute zero pops all the back row, pops all the monster anyways. So I take the 25 here, and he sets 2 more back row. So now I do a T set here. I set the Soroka to the back row when I probably shouldn't have because the set card I have is a Mirror Force. Maybe I decided to set the Sirocco at the time because I didn't want the back row to be blown out by an MST, and he can just attack me directly. I think I was below the lethal limit. I can't really see because of the glare. But if we go back in time, he hit me for. He only attacked over my Raikou, and all my monsters were in defense mode. So yeah, there was no reason to set the Sirocco here when I could have just Mirror Force to just kill the Absolute Zero. So definitely a misplay on my part. So here I let the no, I definitely mirror for a D present here. So it was a D present, it wasn't a mirror force. So I D present and I lost my Sirocco. So I think I drew really well. So I top decked the burial. However, this is going to be misplay number 4, I think. I should have put all the values back into my graveyard because the values are what's generating the advantage. I don't know why I put the 2 values back. Maybe I thought that I was going to top deck a dark arm and so that by using two of the Vayus in my in the graveyard, I'll be able to top deck into a Dark Arm and pop it. I'm looking at the graveyard here. I see that there's like four Dark Monsters. So if two of the Vayus take out two bird or four, if I put back three Darks and I take out four Wing Beasts, or if I take out four Darks out of my graveyard, then that accounts for what? One, two, three, four plus three is seven. So seven minus four would put me at three Darks. So yeah, I think that was my thought process because I was hoping to draw into a Dark Arm because I didn't mill it yet. But still, that's actually incorrect. I should have just put all three Vayus in the graveyard because he was on no monsters, and so because he had no monsters, I can keep pressing him with Vayus. So I activate the Vayu here to banish the Armor Master to go into the Silver Wind Ascendant, see if he had any response. This pretty much checks if he has the Bottomless, and he does not have the Bottomless. I can use the second Vayu to bring out the Armor Master to press in more damage, but that falls pretty hard to a Mirror Force and a Torrential. So I decide to attack with the Silver Wind here without summoning the second bird. So I attack directly for 28, and he takes the damage here, and I pass turn. This way, he has to deal with the Silver Wind, and if he doesn't deal with the Silver Wind, then I'm pretty much in a good position. He activates Hero Blast here, so he has to waste his back row Hero Blast on just getting the Alias back to his hand. And if he summons the Alias, he has to have either an Honest or a Book of Moon. No, he has to have an Honest or a Gemini Spark to deal with it. So this pretty much takes out all his back row, so I don't have to fear anything else. Also, to add, the issue with the Dark Arm play, the Dark Arm, how do I say this? The issue with thinking that I'll draw into a Dark Arm is that I also have to bank on him not removing the Silver Wind, because if the Silver Wind goes to the graveyard, I'll have four Darks. So yeah, that was always incorrect to put the two Vayus back instead of three. So he summons the Alias here, and he activates the Gem Spark to deal with the Silver Wind. And then he has to pass with no monster. And this way I can just grind out his back row. So now I summon the Armor Master here, and he has to force a Torrential. So my read was actually correct, even though it's a probability that he might not have it. So he Torrentials here, and now I have to consider... Oh, I drew into a Brain Control. So I drew into a Brain Control, which is not a monster. So he was kind of worried that I had another monster to kill him. The card in his hand was an Honest, so he just summons the Honest here, and he attacks me for game. And I didn't have any follow-up. But yep, so that was my misplay here. Not putting the three Vayus back was incorrect because I could have used the last Vayu to make the arm wing and attack him for game. So that was a close game one. I don't have a side deck, so I mean I do have a side deck, but the side deck doesn't have anything for the hero beat matchup. At least I don't think so. I'm looking through the side deck here. I have Lightning Vortex as a choice. Lightning Vortex would be good if he commits a second monster to an absolute zero line. But I decided not to side it. I decided to not side any of those cards because Fossil Giant is really weak to just Alias Beatdown. And Soul Release is only okay. So it looks like I decided to side nothing and just decided to go to game 2 without siding. Okay, I draw, now game 2 starts here, and I draw a hand of Deep Sea Diva, 2 traps, Dark Refer. Since I lost, I decided to go first, so I wanted to set up my plays with Dark Refer. I send the Elf and the Raven this time, so I make the Armor Master here because in the event that he does have trap cards, he won't be able to Bottomless Trap Hole it or Torrential it, but I do have to play around the Deep Prison and the Mirror Force and the Gem Spark. Activates the Future Fusion here, so he reveals his Absolute Zero. He can now send his Water Monsters to the graveyard, so he can send either his Deep Sea Diva, if he's on that build, or his Ocean. So he's on the Ocean build by the looks of it. I haven't seen Deep Sea Diva yet, so I'm not sure if he plays it or not. Okay, then he sets some back rows, activates E Emergency Call to get the Stratos. Summons the Stratos most likely to attack over the Greffer, but he's going to search first for the Alias. And then, yeah, he can declare an attack on the Greffer here. Okay, so I lose 100 life points, and Greffer dies. I have the option of summoning the Speed Reaper by attacking over the Stratos, but he set like 3 back rows, so I felt pretty unsafe to play it into the back row. I think what I did was I summoned the Card Tripper here. This way, if I do mill a Vayu, I could just double float with the Mirror Force. So I mill the 3 and I do mill a Vayu, which is good for me. So if he does Mirror Force here, the Card Trooper generating me a +2 by forcing the Mirror Force to be played on the Card Trooper and then allow me to draw. And the Arm Master is replaceable with the second Vayu. So I attack and he does Mirror Force and then I draw 1. I activate the Allure of Darkness to draw 2 and then I can either banish the Spear Reaper or the Necrogardener. Since I already wasted my normal summon, I won't be able to protect my life points with the Sirocco. He draws return here. Not sure what he's going to do next. He does have 1 counter on the Future Fusion, so next turn he'll be able to play the Absolute Zero. Summons the Ocean here. I do have the Bottomless, I believe. Decided not to use it. I want to save it for the Absolute Zero in the event that it does come out. I do have the option of setting a monster, but if I do set a monster, then what happens is if I bottomless the Absolute Zero will just blow up my monster anyways with the bottomless. So I decided to take that into consideration and just summon the Sirocco here. And yeah, and I make another blunder, but you'll see soon. I summon Sirocco here, and I see if he has. I bait out a back row. So the blunder I made here was I attacked over the Stratos when I should have attacked over the ocean. I don't know what was in my mind at the time to attack over the Stratos. In my mind, I was thinking that he could just bounce the Stratos with the ocean. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have attacked over the ocean. I think I just wasn't thinking, and I decided to attack the Stratos instead, which is incorrect because the ocean could just retrieve the Stratos from the graveyard. So with the Dark Arm in my hand, I decided to special summon it with the 3 Darks. The Solemn Judgment's here, unfortunate for me because I really want to get rid of the Future Fusion with the Dark Arm Dragon, but he does have the Solemn Judgment, so yeah, a lot of good back rows for him. But now if I bottomless the Absolute Zero, I will lose my Sirocco here, which I don't mind losing, but I have to use it right away. So I guess the Shadows here with the Ocean. Okay, so he summons the DD Warrior Lady here, so he presses more damage in. I take 3,000 damage directly. He sets another, or no, he has the same back row. So now with my Vayu in the graveyard, I can make a Silver Wind to attack over the ocean. But he does have a bottomless, so a lot of good back rows for him. So I set a Spear Reaper and a Reaper. I sent a Reaper and a Deep Prison here. Yeah, and he, unfortunately for me, he does have the Shadows to pop my back row. And he doesn't play around the Torrential. So this way, he can just pop the Deep Prison. I was going to use the Deep Prison on the DD Warrior Lady. So this is pretty much game here. He trades the DD Warrior Lady into the Spear Reaper because I wanted to be able to stall out the turns. Maybe I should have set the Raikou instead, so I can at least have some life points preserved, and then only take the 18. I think I had enough life points to stop the damage. So yeah, Vayu Turbo is definitely one of those decks where you really can't misplay that much, and the misplays will cost you the game against a hero player who knows what they're doing. He definitely did not misplay at all, in my opinion. It was just me on my part. If I had just do the correct sequencing, where I put all the Vayus in the graveyard with the burial from the different dimension, to pretty much grind through all his back row. I think that was the better play, and then also not attacking over the Stratos, not attacking over the ocean with my Sirocco was another blunder. Uh, and what else is another blunder I made? Uh, Not setting the Raikou there was also a misplay. So not setting the Raikou instead of the Reaper to stop the Stratos, because I know he had the Stratos because he added it off the ocean. So there's no reason for me to set the Spear Reaper to preserve life points. Yeah, let me see what else. Other than that, cool plays that I did summon the Card Trooper to be able to mill the Vayu, so that allows me to play around the Mirror Force and generate me a +2. But maybe I should have just attacked with the Arm Master and see and force out the Mirror Force instead of summoning the Card Trooper. This way I could just set the Reaper and protect my life points. Maybe that was a better play. Alright, this is gonna be another hero matchup. Hero was really popular this weekend, so I don't know why. But this is gonna be the hero video, so pretty much you guys can tell what I'm gonna try to do here. I set a Raikou with a back row, which was probably gonna be a Mirror Force. And then he summons the Alias here, and he declares an attack on my set. I asked him if he has anything before damage step, just in case he has a Gemini Spark. And so he attacks with the Alias into my Raikou, because once it goes into damage step, he won't be able to activate Gemini Spark. So I flip the Raikou here and I pop the Alias, and then he tries to respond with a Gemini Spark, but I tell him that it's damage step now because he won't be able to activate the Gemini Spark. So I pop the Alias here, and then I mill 3. He sets a back row here, and he passes. I draw for turn here. I do draw into a Brain Control, but I draw a bunch of Vayu, so I'm just going to start swinging and taking out life points. I set another Torrential into a potential Pro Storm, but knowing that he kind of like blundered on the because he shows me his Gemini Spark, it kind of tells me he's kind of inexperienced for a hero beat player. So it kind of tells me he probably doesn't have a Pro Storm in some way, so I set another back row. He activates Emergency Call here. Now he can search for Stratos. He can just summon it and then get a +1, which is good for him. So this way, if he does attack over the Vayu, I at least have a Vayu that can replace itself when I do summon a Sirocco. If I ever do draw one. I think I already have one in my hand. Yeah, I already have a Sirocco in my hand. So he beats over the Vayu here. The Vayu can be able to float into another monster, which is fine for me. I draw into another Vayu. It looks like, so I summon a Sirocco. Hopefully nothing happens to it on a bottomless. So I pass without attacking because I don't want him to deprison my Sirocco. I definitely want the Sirocco in the graveyard. So I let him respond to it with his own Gemini Spark. I know he has a Gemini Spark, so if he's going to waste the Alias with a Gemini Spark, that's good for me. So he pops a monster, I trade with a Gemini Spark, and he attacks directly for 18. So now I do have the Sirocco and the Vayu in the graveyard, and most likely he didn't have the bottomless because he would have used the bottomless on my Sirocco, and so I decided to use I decided to make the arm wing here to try to preserve my life points. So I put an attack position without attacking, and I set the hamster and I pass, I believe. Yeah, I set the hamster here so that in case I draw into, I want to be able to pop his back row and bait out his deep presence. He summons a Thunder King Ryo here, which is big enough to run over the hamster. I do have a Mirror Force to deal with the board, but I'm afraid of a Starlight Road, so I decided not to Mirror Force on the first attack and set the Raikou here. Unfortunately, I ran out of targets because I only played 2 Raikou in here. That's what happens when you're ill prepared for a tournament. Okay, so he attacks over the hamster here with the Thunder King Ryle. So yeah, I lose my hamster and I lose my Raikou. My opportunity to set a back row. I summon a Gale here and I half the attack of Thunder King Ryo. And I think oh no, he Hero Blasts. So Hero Blasts the Gale here. And then I think I simply pass here. Nope, I decided to declare an attack. And because I had the Mirror Force, I didn't mind the Deep Prison. So he Mirror Forces the Arm Wing, which is good for me. So the next Vayu will be able to clear. So with his half Thunder King Ryle and his Stratos, he can definitely just attack me for a little bit of damage. He summons the Ocean here and I Torrential. Hopefully it's not a Starlight Road, and it isn't, so I gotta get 3 for 1. Yeah, the read that I made was that he kept checking his back row, and so I don't know why someone would keep checking if that card is a Starlight Road. So I pretty much bank on it not being a Starlight Road, so that's why I Torrential there. So I summon a Vayu here and I attack directly for 800, and then I just simply pass with the Mirror Force. I set the Brain Control by the looks of it. He summons an Alias here. I had the option of Mirror Forcing, and I activate Mirror Force here, and then he Gem Sparks. So that's definitely a misplay on my part to set the Brain Control, because then he gets a 2 for 1 here. But that's fine. I do have a Card Trooper, and hopefully I'll be able to mill a Sirocco here. He makes the absolute zero with the Miracle Fusion, and then he's able to bring it out to run over the... No, that's main phase 2. So I draw for turn here. I draw into Elf and the Raven. So this is where Elf and the Raven actually comes up. Elf and the Raven can actually just normal summon itself without tributing, and I could make the absolute zero go to defense mode and then run it over. I'm really puzzled as to what this card may be if it's not a Starlight Road. So let's see what it is. Hopefully he shows me his back row if the game ends. So I put the absolute zero defense mode and I put the Vayu in defense mode for no reason. And yeah, the Vayu gets destroyed by the absolute zero. Now I can make the Armor Master, and I do. And it's not a bottomless, and it's not a deep prison. Could be a Hero Blast that he has set, so I'm not entirely sure. But he sets a monster here, so that this way, when heroes start setting monsters, it kind of signifies to me that that they've run out of options to run over any monster above 1900 attack. So that's good for me. I decided to summon the Vayu here in case it's a Mirror Force, and it is Fossil Dyna, so it isn't what I thought it was. So it wasn't a monster that he could just simply run over. But that's fine for me. So the Fossil Dyna trades with the Armor Master, at least on the declaration of attack. So he runs over the Vayu here, and that's good for me because now I can just bring out the Silver one to run over the Thunder King. I summon the Card Trooper anyways, so that I can bait out his back row. I mill 3 here, and I mill all my Caiuses, and then I can. This is a good play for me. So if I do trade with a Thunder King Ryo, I'll be able to just yeah, I'll be able to just trade with the Thunder King Ryo really well. Instead, I decided to run over. Yeah, so I attack Card Trooper into the Thunder King in case it's an Honest, because Honest is still a 2 in this game. So I attack with Card Trooper first in case it is an Honest. And this way I'll be able to draw a card, and then I attack with the 2800, and then set the Book of Moon here. Okay, so far so good. Now he has to find a way to deal with the Silver Wind. I think I have an oppression for the second miracle, so I can deal with the yeah, I do have an oppression. So I oppression his Miracle Fusion, so I don't have to deal with the absolute zero. So I'm in a really good spot here. Now he can't actually bring out a big monster. He sets another monster here. I summon a Grepher and I attack over the face down, and I attack him for game. Alright, so that's game 1 here, and we're going to go to game 2. Obviously I don't have a side deck, but if I did have a side deck for... I don't think I needed any side deck against heroes, just because the Arm Wings and the Arm Masters and the Silver One Ascendants are all bigger than 1900 attack. And the Oppression should theoretically just be able to deal with um, the the oppression should just be able to deal with the miracle fusions and the future fusions. All right, so game 2 starting. He goes first here. I draw into a burial. He activates the Rhoda for Shadow's play, where he searches and gets +1, and then he passes turn with some back rows, I believe. I summon Strogo here, and I'm pretty much not going to declare an attack, just because I don't want to have to deal with the Deep Prison. So I set the bottomless here to see if I can get bait out a MST or Dust Tornado, and it is neither. Summons the alias here, and then this play he has to either use the Honest or a Gemini Spark to deal with the Sirocco. So he does have the Gemini Spark, and he wastes it to deal with the Sirocco, and he passes. He attacks and then he passes. Sets another back row. I draw for turn. Now I have the Foolish Burial to dump the Vayu. Foolish Burial is okay in this deck. It's not really much of a +1. It's just more like special summon an Arm Wing if you have the Sirocco in the graveyard, which is kind of decent. This way I don't have to waste my normal summon for an Armageddon Knight. Sometimes Armageddon Knight, you don't want to normal summon him. And plus I didn't bring the Armageddon Knight, so maybe I should have played the Armageddon Knight. I make the Arm Wing and I attack over the Stratos. Yeah, the reason why I make an Arm Wing and I'm not afraid to attack into a Deep Prison is because I haven't done a normal summon yet. This way, if he does get rid of the Arm Wing with a Deep Prison or a Mirror Force, I at least have some form of defense on the following or the same turn. This way, I don't lose life points. I play a very I basically play so where if my normal summon, uh, I don't know how to explain this. Let me think. I play in such a way where if my attack gets if my attacker gets destroyed off the field, I at least have a set. I at least have a normal summoner set that can at least preserve my life points. That's kind of how I play most of the time. So I do this where if I did summon the Sirocco the last turn and I attacked and it was a deep prison, he could have easily attacked me with an Alias and a Stratos the next turn, and that would mean I would lose 3,700 damage versus where before he had to use a Gemini Spark to deal with my Sirocco and then attack me for only 1,800. So I think in terms of that, where life points is kind of a resource, but sometimes it's not a resource if you're playing against an OTK deck. It just depends on what the scenario is. So I set the Spirit Reaper in case, in case my Arm Wing gets destroyed and then he tries to attack me directly somehow with an Armor Master. Summons the Ocean here. I let the Ocean pass here. I think he's trying to protect his Ocean. No, he just goes for the Miracle Fusion play here. So then, if he does make the if he does make the Absolute Zero here, he can just trade with my whole board. Um, the only problem I have with this play is that one, he wastes his normal summon, and two, if I do activate Oppression on the Miracle Fusion, then what happens is now he has to be able to protect his Ocean. Otherwise, the Ocean has to attack into my face down, which could be a Raikou, and I can pop his back row. Maybe so that I make this read that maybe he has like an out to oppression that's set, and it might be a solemn judgment set or an MST set. Um, it wasn't an MST set because I had the Sirocco with the bottomless on turn one, and he didn't end phase MST it, so it kind of tells me that he doesn't have MST, but he does have solemn judgment. That's my thought process. I bottoms here, and he gets a 3-for-1 off me, which is really good for him. But I don't mind the 3-for-1 because I was ahead in card advantage. I draw into a Raikou here, and I had the option of activating Burial, but I want oh yeah, so I activate the Burial here to return the Vayu. He activates Dark Bribe to lets me draw a card. Not sure why he plays Dark Bribe. So the Dark Bribe was gonna be able to trade with the Oppression. That's why he did the play with the Ocean. And so my read, even though it wasn't a Solemn Judgment, it's kind of like Solemn Judgment, but better for me because I get to draw a card. So there's my little logic for you guys, my little logic flowchart. So he sets another back row closest to his deck. I flip the Raikou to pop his back row. Unfortunately it was a Hero Blast, so I was not able to get a +1 off that. Um, and since I have a normal summon, I do have the option of special summoning the Dark Arm here. Since I do have the third Dark, I destroy the Gemini Spark on priority, and then I activate the effect again to pop the back row, and then I use his last effect to pop the last one. So this was a really good play for me to be able to deal with everything. Most likely he doesn't have a Gores because Gores is really good, but really bad into with Hero Beat most of the time because if you pop all the back, if they set a bunch of back row, it usually means that they don't have Gores because Gores is really awkward in your hand if you do set back rows. There is the option, there is the chance that he does draw into Gores after setting, but I just don't believe it. So he attacks here and he activates Gemini Spark, most likely to deal with the Dark Arm. He gets 2-for-1 off my the Alias, and then I summon the Card Trooper here to mill 3, and then I summon the Necro Gardener and attack for 2,500 damage. He draws return here. Now he can definitely activate a second Miracle Fusion to punish. Summons the Grand Mole here and he passes. Does not declare an attack because he's afraid of my back row. I decide to mill 3 here and attack with the Card Trooper and attack directly for 600. I lose a Gores here and a Gale and a Dust Tornado, and so at least I'll be able to at least do some damage. Takes 600 here, and I set the Morphing Jar, I believe. Yeah, I set the Morphing Jar. So Morphing Jar is a really interesting tech in this deck, is because there are situations where I'll have a bunch of Vayus in my hand, and I want the Vayus to be in the graveyard. But if it's not a bunch of Vayus, I at least can generate a lot of advantage because this deck plays a lot of back rows for some reason, and those back rows can just be set, and I can just generate a lot of advantage that way. So there was that kind of mentality. Plus, nobody knows that everyone thinks that when I set a card, it's either a Vayu or a hamster, and I want people to think that it's a Raikou or a hamster because if they attack into a Raikou with their one monster, I'll get a lot of pluses with the monster. So yeah, that's what I decided to do. So he attacks over the Necro Gardener. I take 500 life points. So I flip the Morphing Jar here without summoning the Card Trooper or without summoning the Dark Grepher. Yeah, I flipped the Morphing Jar here to get a plus. Because once the Sirocco goes to the graveyard, once I get a Vayu in there, I'll be able to do a lot. Okay, he loses his Grand Mole and he also loses his Honest. I draw into another Vayu, which is pretty bad for me, but at least I have a Grepher. So I can send off the Elf and the Raven if I do have it. So now I do have to play around the. I don't know. I'm sure does he have another Honest? Oh, he doesn't. So he loses his Honest to the Morphing Jar, so I don't have to worry about attacking over, worrying about Honest in the damage step. So he activates. I activate Grepher. I use Vayu's effect here to bring out the Armor Master, and then I attack over the Honest with the uh, Grepher, and then I attack him for game. Yep. So that was both the games. So yeah. I have another hero matchup on the next one, so stay tuned for that one. Okay, so I went to another tournament in the same area. It's going to be the GX Gamers place. They have tournaments almost like I think they have Edison tournaments like 3 times a week. They have it on Monday, they have it on Friday, and I believe they have it on Saturdays as well. So I'm not entirely sure. You'll have to contact them. And they have it around like 7 o'clock. So if you guys are interested in playing Edison in the Los Angeles area, go to GX Gamers. Okay, I go first. I win the die roll. I go first. I'm playing against another hero matchup, just so you guys know how to play against the matchup better. I'm using the side camera view, so this way, I did this because I was using my other camera to record the other games, so this way I can just set up faster and play and get more content for you guys. Activates the reinforcement of the army. Searches for the ocean. I was expecting that the Stratos be added to the hand, so I'm expecting the Stratos to come down here. He does summon the Alias instead of the Stratos, and he declared an attack on my Raikou. I pop the Alias here, and I mill my Heavy Storm. Sorry for the off camera, so you can't tell what I mill. So it turns back to me now. I activate the Allure of Darkness, and I draw 2. I banish my Dark Arm because I don't have any other play. I have the option of summoning, I think, the Spirit Reaper to attack him directly. Activate Charge Light Brigade. I mill Sirocco, at least in a deep prison. So the option here is sending another Raikou to deal with his Stratos, if he does have it, or another Alias. He summons an Ocean here. Text. It's a Morphing Jar, so I trick him into thinking it's a Raikou. So this is what I was talking about in my last match, where people think it's a Raikou, and they summon a monster to attack it without sending any back rows, and it's a Morphing Jar. Yeah, it's a very degenerate strategy, but I decided to do it anyways. Um, and I lose my Raikou and my Grepher, but at least I get a +2 off the Morphing Jar because I'll get the 2 sets for free. Some of the Grepher here I call priority to dump Elf and the Raven, and then oh no, I special summon. Sorry, it looks like I special summon the Grepher by discarding the Elf and the Raven, and then I asked if he has Solemn Judgment, and then I call priority to activate the Grepher ability to discard the Vayu. Okay, so I send another Vayu here so I can start playing the grind game pretty well. Yeah. Check his graveyard for any Mirror Force. So even though he might have a Mirror Force, I think I decided to go for the Arm Wing play because I really want Ocean off the field, and it would be kind of a detriment to me if I don't summon the second monster because my Grepher can easily be deep prison here, and then I wouldn't have a way to clear the ocean. So I want to make sure he doesn't get a +1 off the ocean. Because I tribute summon for a Grepher here, I tribute the Grepher off for the Caius, and I banish the Ocean because he needs a water monster to activate the Miracle Fusion. So I target the Ocean here, and hopefully he doesn't have Torrential, and he doesn't. And then I attack him directly without actually committing too much. Okay, so then I make the Armor Master with the Elf and the Raven, and then I attack him directly. No, he activates Balmus. Then I attack him directly for 24. So I grind it out. I play the arm wing, then I try to hit him more. Okay, the D present, and then attack for guys. So now I can kind of read that the last back row is in a Mirror Force. Unless he was afraid of like my Starlight Road in Vayu. Activates the Feature Fusion. I let it resolve. I don't have anything to respond to it anyways. Looks like I have 2 Vayus in my banished area, so this is going to be pretty crazy for me. Looks like he's on the Deep Sea Diva engine, so he sends off the Stratos and the Diva. Sets a back row, or sets a monster and passes. Not sure what that back row may be, so I think it looks like I do have Burial. So I put back 2 Vayus and I put it back a Sirocco so I can go up the chain again. Okay, activate Vayu here with my Sirocco, bring out the Arm Wing. If it's a Fossil Dyna, I think I should attack with the Arm Wing first. It's not, it's a Spine Gilman. I attack for Kai's with Kai's for 24. Now he's at 3200 damage, and then I set it back row when I pass. Future Fusion goes to 1 counter. Activates the E emergency call. Now he can search for the Stratos hopefully to get a +1. And he gets another alias. So I'm not. Oh yeah, he dumped the Stratos off the Future Fusion. So not sure why he did that. Summons the alias here. I bottomless. Hopefully he doesn't have the Gem Spark, and he doesn't. And I attack him directly for 23 and 24 for game. Yep. So he scoops here. Then we go to game 2. I still don't have a side deck. That's useful. So yeah. I had to return the side deck back to Alex, so I couldn't play with my side deck in this tournament. Okay, I draw my 5 cards here. We reset the light points. He goes first because I lost. He lost the first game, so he wants to go first. Summons Strauss, and then he searches for a alias here. He has a very high rarity hero deck, which is pretty impressive. Now he has some back rows, I believe. He sets 1 back row and he passes, so it kind of tells me that he doesn't have a Starlight Road or a Solemn Judgment to stop the Heavy Storm. Add a Raikou off the top from the Charge of Light Brigade. I mill a Vayu and a Caius and a spell. I set 2 back rows. See if it's a MST. He Wing Blasts my Raikou, so he kind of kills my opportunity cost for me. He discards an alias off with the Wing Blast. He summons the Deep Sea Diva here. So if he does make a synchro play here, I can bottomless, I believe. He goes into the Spine Gilman. I choose not to bottomless the Spine Gilman because it's not a threat to me. And I don't want him to get a +1. So I decided to just take all the damage. Main phase 2, he makes an Android. Him making the Android tells me he might have an Honest in hand. So I looks like I don't have a bottomless or anything. Oh, I do have a bottomless. So I do have a bottomless, but the reason why I didn't carry it was because I can run over the Android the following turn. We gain 600. I Dust Tornado his back row. It's a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I draw into my Raikou, and then I set I summon I set a Raikou with another back row. Okay, summons an Ocean here. So here I decided to let him declare an attack with the Ocean, and I feared that this might be a Starlight Road because he set it along with his next back row. But in just case it was a Starlight Road, I could just pop it and then activate the Mirror Force on the remainder of the. Yeah, so it wasn't a Starlight Road, it was a D Prison, and then his next attack I just Mirror Force. So it puts me in a really good spot here. So he's back on top deck mode, and then I draw. I summon a Grepher here, call priority, discard the Vayu here. I think I ditched Elf and the Raven, yeah. Elf and the Raven and the Arm Master can go in for a lot of damage, and I do that. Even though it might be a Mirror Force. I attack with yep, so I lose both my monster to a Mirror Force, but at least it's out. And then my second Vayu can just make a Silver Wind. So I set an Oppression here, so if he does top deck a Mirror Fusion, I can just Oppression it. And that's good for me, and then this puts me in a really good spot. Summon a Spear Reaper, and I attack him for 300. I take out his last monster. And then this is a really good spot for me. Now he top decks into a Mirror Fusion, he can't use it. And he just scoops even though he has life points to preserve his, to preserve himself. Yeah, so that's the game for all of my hero matchups. I hope you guys learned something out of this. Hero is a really easy matchup for Vayu, except when you just play badly, like what I did in the first round of the hero matchup. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be making a commentary video for the remainder of my tournament experiences. Hopefully, I'll have more of a side deck ready for those tournaments because I often go with the intent of just recording without playing. But if I do decide to play, I'll have a side deck ready for those games. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.